And then Matt, do you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I can kind of kick us all off. What I have is a set of slides that will just mostly walk you through who Greater Giving is and kind of some broader background type of things. I'm happy to take any questions during that time at all. So just let me know if anything comes up. And then let me do a screen share here. I'll do a share, and then let me know if you all can see. Can you all see the Greater Giving and then the Diocese of Sacramento slide?
I can, yes. And they're muted, Matt.
Okay, perfect. Oh, they're muted. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So thought we'd just kind of walk through the game plan being, I can give us, and John and Michelle can help me supplement a little bit of a background on who Greater Giving is, our clients, our solutions, how we support organizations, so we can kind of make that conversational. And then I can hand off to John, who can do a walkthrough of the Greater Giving solution in real time. I'll kind of talk about the event life cycle, different use case scenarios for how people use the different portions of the solution. And then we can navigate that via question and answer, which is usually really helpful as well. And then we can talk about what a partnership would look like between all of us, whether that's pricing or how what some of our goals would be in growing together and providing great service for you, and what those might look like. So to start off with, as Michelle, these are in the pre-Zoom days. We used to always set a slide where we had a photo of us so everyone knew kind of what we looked like. But you all know now there's no hiding. So again, it's myself and Michelle and John, who just have a great history of working together. We're all based here in Portland. Greater Giving is based in Portland, Oregon, and the three of us are here based in the home office. So we were founded in 2002. So 17, 18 years plus of providing event solutions exclusively to nonprofits and schools. So we only work with nonprofits and schools. Our solutions have supported over 150,000 benefit auctions and events for over 10,000 organizations. More than $7 billion has been raised and processed through our software systems. And we're just really, more than anything, we're just proud of being best-in-class technology and support company for schools and nonprofits. It's something we all take a lot of pride in. There's probably about 80 team members at our organization, and everyone's just really proud. I would say of those 80, probably about 60% have been at the company close to a decade. So everyone just really loves the connection that we have and the partnerships we form with our clients. And so we're very proud of that success that we've had alongside so many great nonprofits and schools. Some of them that anyone would recognize across the country would be our national partners. These are organizations where we're either a preferred vendor or from the top down, that there's a decision that, for instance, American Cancer Society. So all of the American Cancer Society auctions and golf tournaments utilize Greater Giving solutions. And we have some of these organizations where we're preferred vendors. So we have some great partners across the country. One of the reasons I highlight this is because we have a scaled service solution that will not only are these organizations using our product successfully, but we have an incredible way in which we've kind of customed our customer support for each one, because they're all very different. In addition to that, we have what we call the national brands. These are organizations where all of the decisions happen at a chapter level, but over our 20 years, we've worked with, obviously work with hundreds and hundreds of these organizations that are known throughout the country. And our support model for them is slightly different because the chapters don't have the connectivity that some of those national partners have. So we've kind of customized our support and services for groups like that. Then I always talk about our distinguished events and galas. These are organizations, some of the events that are in the diocese probably are of this nature: bigger rooms, rooms filled with higher ticket items and things of that nature. So we're a trusted source for some of these. The Naples Winter Wine Festival, which is the largest wine auction, nonprofit wine auction that happens in the country, Seattle Aquarium, Fred Hutch, Emeril Lagasse Foundation. So we work with a number of distinguished events and galas, but really the core of what we do every day is we work with nonprofits in schools, in the community, that outside of the community, people have probably never heard of outside of the city or the region. And that's really kind of what is the foundation. As much as these slides are fun to share and we're proud of them, really the foundation of our organization are the 6,000 local organizations that just are doing work in their communities, at the school level, at the organization level, improving their communities and using their auction, no matter what size that auction is a really important time for the community to get together, to raise awareness for what you're raising funds for, and to give people an opportunity to give in a way that helps administrators and event team run an event as efficiently as possible, so the guest experience is as positive as possible. And those look very different. You know, some are black tie and some are Hawaiian shirt. And we love supporting all of those. And it's really kind of the infrastructure of what we've built and what we do day to day. Michelle, you can probably speak to some of the schools at a school level, some of the schools and the different dioceses in like Oakland, San Jose, and San Francisco, the greater Bay Area that we work with.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Matt. So we currently work with 10 of your schools in the Diocese of Sacramento, but I just wanted to mention a couple of schools that you may recognize. And the schools in your diocese we've been working with since 2006. And some of these that I'm going to mention, I think they've been clients since 2002, 2003. So in Oakland, Bishop O'Dowd is one. We have about, I would say, 10 in Oakland, but you may recognize that. De La Salle, San Francisco, one very fun school is Marin Catholic, the Sarah High School, Archbishop Reardon, St. Anne's. We just signed the Mission Dolores Academy, St. Isabella in San Rafael, Notre Dame in Belmont, Mercy in Burlingame, and Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Redwood City. And then in San Jose, we have about 5, and we're working with, I think since 2002, so we started the company Bellarmine, so you may recognize those names. But that's just an idea of who we work with. Some of these are large, some of these are small, and from what I understand, you have a wide range of fundraising within the diocese as well.
And there's some of our favorite events to work with. I'm went to Catholic schools all through college. I went to St. Mary's College, not too far from Sacramento. So I always love the Catholic schools. I think some of the events they do, right, some of the themes and things like that we've seen over the years with our clients are incredible. So it's always really, really engaging for us to work with diocese and Catholic schools. They're near and dear to our hearts. One of the other things I'll mention in case it comes up at some point would be Greater Giving. So we were founded in Portland, Oregon, where our headquarters still is. And about 9 years ago, so about halfway through our current life cycle, we were acquired by a company called Global Payments that's based in Atlanta. And one of the reasons I bring that up is I think one of the unique things about Greater Giving is as a startup, we've already realized our what people would call exit strategy. So we think we're the best blend of the startup culture, which our parent company Global Payments has been incredible in allowing us to maintain. They really call us like a boutique division. There's a number of software companies that they've purchased over the years. Global Payments is a credit card processing company. And so there's a number of startup software companies, many of who serve the school. If any of you are familiar with School Solutions, that does the payments and software for school payments, but a number of Active Network, which does a lot of the registrations for marathons and YMCA's. So Global Payments has what they call boutique divisions, which are essentially software companies that work with schools, nonprofits, and other ways that have a credit card processing background. What's been incredible for Greater Giving is it's allowed us to maintain the camaraderie, the quick pivots, the collaboration that happens locally at a startup in Portland where we're based, but it gives us the consistency and backing of a Fortune 500 company, which especially in times like this, really allow us to be at full strength and to be able to take a long view for what we want to accomplish. So that security and stability has been just a great fit for us, and we think make us a great investment as well. And I went through one of the things that I wanted to focus on as well is to demonstrate to all of you a little bit about our software. We have an incredible software that we've been working obviously on our solutions for 20 years, but we continue to improve them. And so I wanted to give a little bit of a snapshot of what we've done lately to continue to improve our products for our clients and the groups that we work with. So this summer, we completed a full new user interface of our event software, which is the core software that the administrators will work in, which John will walk through. So an updated user interface just to make it easier to navigate, to give the types of visual features and functionality that are more engaging. And then in the fall, we did a reporting expansion. We expanded elements of our reporting based on client feedback on how to better favorite or make custom reports, different ways to demonstrate those visually and to share them. And so that rolled out in the fall. And then in the winter, we had a number of feature enhancements. One was what we call the roundup, which would be a feature that would allow organizations to set either a percentage or dollar amount that people can round up to. It's a way for you at your events to ask people if they'd like to cover the credit card percentage of any of their purchases, or to round up to a certain dollar amount. So if they were $900, they could round up to $1,000. If they're at $900, they could add 3.5% or whatever it may be to cover the credit card service fees. We also added RSVP, which is an incredible way to manage tables. When you have someone that buys a table and they're providing the table and the tickets to their invitees, it's an incredible way to really engage the table captains to be able to collect the information and manage the information for the people that they'll be inviting that might not be in your database yet. So we continue every season to roll out a number of important updates to our product. What we just launched in June, which is really exciting, both for any of the groups that will need to do virtual events, and when everyone gets back into the room and we're able to put these on huge display boards and screens throughout the event. We did an update of our leaderboards and our auction boards. So our thermometers that demonstrate fundraising, whether it be overall, whether it be through the Fund a Cause, highlighting people who are giving in real time, scrolling sponsors, customizable backgrounds. John will speak to this. And then auction boards that have a number of different ways to filter the items that are in an online or virtual or mobile environment, or even in the room, the items where the bids are, different types of packages that you want to highlight and sponsors you want to highlight. And then, of course, the back end of setting up those boards is user-friendly and uses all the most modern technology. So even though this is what we've been doing for 20 years, what excites us is to continue to see our products evolve and to see how our clients use that and the feedback they have to even make it better. The solutions that we'll talk about today are our event package with online bidding. So our event package is our event auction software, which is kind of the core, the base of everything we do. That's kind of where everything is managed. The express payment option, which allows you on-site at events to have an express payment option that makes things as efficient as possible for all of you and for your guests, creates that open tab mentality. Event mini sites and peer-to-peer, where you can build your own sites that highlight your event, where people can buy tickets, view items, see a Google map, see a video from last year, see photos, highlight sponsors. You can do donations for other campaigns through that as well, and clearly peer-to-peer. So if you have any walks or a-thons or table captains, our system will do that. And then, of course, the online bidding. One of the things that I think separates Greater Giving from anyone else in the industry is, when we started this 20 years ago, there were a number of different auction software companies that had great software that helped manage auctions and do the payments at auctions. Greater Giving was one. We were called Auction Pay at the time. MaestroSoft, Auction Tracker, Auction Systems, Archetype. Those were all auction software companies. A lot of them built by event planners or auctioneers. And then a number of years later, we saw mobile bidding become popular, and you see mobile bidding companies start to develop. And now you have auction software companies trying to stretch into the mobile bidding world, mobile bidding companies trying to build out their auction software. I think the value that Greater Giving really has over and above anyone in the marketplace, I feel, is a balance of excelling at everything from the intricacies and depth and breadth you need in an auction software, with the great look and feel that you need to have online on your leaderboards, the ease and the usability of the software, and the look and feel of the online bidding. So I think that's something that we have, is the breadth of our value proposition, I think, is very unique. Along with our training and support, which John will talk about and we can talk about in a little bit. So John, do you want me to hand it to you to go through, or Michelle, do you want me to hand to John to do to get in the product, or do you want to talk now
No,
about training, support, and
no,
pricing?
this is a perfect time, and then we can go back to training and support,
Okay.
because I do want to focus on this, because John and I have created some unique situations where we will have more training for the Sacramento Diocese versus what we offer right
Okay.
now.
So we want to jump in the product first, and then we'll come back?
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone's probably tired of hearing my voice. Thanks everyone for bearing with me, and so I'll hand it off to John.
All right. Before I get too far, let's do the test to make sure everybody can see it. Can you see the screen?
They're nodding their heads. Yes.
One thing I feel like we're really all getting good at is the fatigue of like video conferencing calls and people like the things that come with it, like they start talking. So I think we're doing pretty good so far. Good job, Matt. You set a good tone. All right. So hey, I'm John. Matt said it well. The big things I think that separate Greater Giving personally, I think a big one's the people. It's people like Michelle. The experience that our team has in this space and with education is great. In the case for, ex-development directors that are members of our staff, et cetera, we really do, put our money where our mouth is. I'm going to talk about the products and some examples of what people are doing. But in that, I also do a lot of our training and our webinars. So you will notice if you give me 2 hours, I'll spend the whole time talking about examples and fun ideas. So Michelle, hold me accountable to this. And I think, Michelle, you're going to be our chat person looking at the question box. So keep me posted. All right. So we're looking at Greater Giving as a software. And I'm going to make this sound really boring in the beginning and talk about this concept of what we call architecture. Go ahead, Michelle.
John, yeah, can you make it full screen? I'm not seeing full screen.
Please hold. There we go.
Thank you. Okay,
How's
thank
that?
you. Yes, perfect.
There we go. Now we're zoomed in a little bit more. Okay, so architecture. So Greater Giving with a school, a nonprofit, etc. We have what you would call your license or your database. From within that, you then have what we call projects. Projects are basically fundraisers where sorry, there's a garbage truck driving by my house here. Projects are basically like fundraisers. So one project might be a jog-a-thon, it might be like, I'll just speak to the way my kids' school use it. We did a Giving Tuesday campaign. We did a end of the year giving campaign. They use Greater Giving. They did for years before I was even involved with school. And then they do like their big gala, which they went virtual for the first time this year and they loved it. So I'm in one of the projects, but what's key about this is when you start talking about volunteers, which are a huge part of school interaction, you can actually set up volunteers to only have access to different projects or fundraisers per se. So we're taking a look at the Greater Giving homepage, and let's first jump into our project, and we're going to talk about this concept called supporters. So I know we have a number of folks on the call who have some familiarity with Greater Giving, so sorry, kind of the 101 level here. But supporters are basically people. They're anybody who has interaction with your fundraiser. It might be a parent, might be a member of the church or group who just donated, a grandparent in another state. It's really up to you. You can import them in via Excel if you'd like, or you can do what I'm about to do, which is manually type them in. So I type in the name, and as I type it in, you'll see that the macro automatically populates down below. If you do want to change something like salutation, informal salutation, like you want to change it to like Sister Mary or John, whatever. The reason why this is relevant is because in a lot of our reporting later, when you're building like your name tags, you can select it to pull from one of these different boxes. And that's probably overkill, but that helps in a lot of cases. All right, then we get into postal address, contact info. That's pretty self-explanatory. I'll skip that part. We can get into supporter basics. We also can type in alternative ID. Michelle, I don't know if you told me this beforehand, but is there any kind of donor management software being used, Salesforce, Blackbaud, anything?
Not that I'm aware of. Colleen's, she's shaking her head no, so we're good.
All right, we'll skip that part then. We also can get into URLs and notes, graphics. This is important when you start talking about sponsors, right? You want to give those sponsor recognition. And then we get into this concept of roles. So a person can have a different role. And in this case, we have 4 roles we're going to take a look at: bidder, donor, staff, and sponsor. So a bidder is what you would expect. It's a person that's bidding in your fundraising event. You can choose what their affiliate type is. You can choose their, their different levels. You can also change what's in this drop down, completely up to you. Then we get into donor, and there's this element called donor type. So donor type can also be determining, what you want to call it. A lot of schools use the concept of alumni, right, as one they track against. There's also another fun one here called soliciting staff members. And a lot of the schools that I talk to use this because they want to keep track of what members of our community are bringing in the highest value donations for the auction. This is really key. So a solicitor is basically the person who goes and gets the donor. So at the end of your campaign, you might say, who are our top solicitors by overall value, right? So that's solicitor again. Staff member, we use staff member to define any person who engages with the campaign. So it's not just a paid staff member, it's also like a volunteer. For like a jogathon or an auction, I would encourage people to also, you can even add time shifts. So you can say, show me the people that are signed up for the, the setup process starting at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and then the next stage, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, whatever. You can keep track of that here. And then finally we get into sponsors, and I don't know how mature the groups on the call are about sponsors. Sometimes with sponsors, I say this is a power user area, but you can actually start looking at sponsorship pipeline procurement, where you can go in and say, who are the target sponsors? What are the offers? How are they linked to the organization? What's their current status? Personally, I really love this in a competitive sense, because if you, let's say, for example, with a school fundraiser, have committees, right? You have procurement committee, you have kind of like the marketing committee. You might also have a sponsorship committee. And then with that sponsorship committee, you're actually saying, who are the people we have in the pipeline and how are these things set up? Again, really fantastic way to kind of look at your long-term progress and how you want to grow in that overall. So you've got all these different elements of a supporter. And again, a supporter is an umbrella term we use to define a person. In addition to that, we also have the function of what we call a household. So a household is basically like a couple, is probably the easiest way to explain it. In some cases, you maybe have like a grandparent, or you have a teenager, or, depending on how you want to have it set up, who might be a part of a household. The reason why this is relevant is because when you do a fundraising event and you say, who bought what? It's not necessarily about who bought what. You really want to see like, who are the buying units, right? So if it's like a couple and one person bought one thing and one person bought 5 things, you really want to view them as they bought 6 total. And that's why households are really relevant. Businesses, this is pretty self-explanatory, but you can also, as a business, a thing I recommend a lot, especially when we start talking about like schools and the donation aspect of it, is considering giving businesses a role in it. So like when you do your fund a need, if you offer the opportunity for someone who maybe owns their own business to also donate on behalf of their business, the business can have like a bid number or a donor profile, and then the individual can as well. And that's great because it kind of flags those in that sense, and it shows up in the reporting. So this is the concept of supporters. Again, supporters are people. And I'll get through this. I'm gonna try to go through it pretty quick, because I know we got a lot of people on the call. There might be some questions and things. The next thing I want to get into is this concept of what we call items and packages. So for a traditional fundraising auction, right, or a campaign in that sense, items are individual things you would procure. And this starts getting into the concept of more inventory management. So items would be things that you would procure. So in a traditional sense, for like a Hawaii trip, we all wish we were be able to get out of our homes and go on vacation and such. But you'd have like, for your Hawaii, you might have, a flight to Hawaii is one item, which had a specific donor. You might have a hotel stay or a condo or Airbnb. That's another donor, another value. And then you have a restaurant gift certificate in Maui. Those 3 things, each one is an item and has different donors, but together those things make up a package. So in the software, the way this targets this is you come in and you write out the item name, and I'll call this Ticket to Maui. I can indicate what my categories are, how I want to have it set up. Let's pick one here. And then I can choose how it's going to be sold, how I want to have it structured. The software can provide gift certificates. You can create them right out of the product based on whatever you've put in, but it's totally up to you. Images become relevant because you can actually slide images in. Now, what Greater Giving does too is we have stock images, because a lot of times, like if you have wine donated to your auction, you might not have a great photo of it. That's fine. We have a generic image of wine, which is actually our most popular used. We have a generic picture of a palm tree, but it's all about giving you back more of that time, makes it quite a bit faster. So you can add your images in, you can choose from stock images, totally up to you, or if you want to like move them around. Whatever image you choose to be the first one is basically it's the main image or the keystone image. And so that's that first image that shows up like in online bidding in that sense. All right, so I've got my, I can assign it to a package right now, or I can just write out my description however I want to have it set up. Let me just type in something I have pre-created here.
I think one thing to mention here too is under restrictions, what I'm seeing a lot of our clients are doing now is if you have a travel package and you're doing a virtual event or even online bidding or in-person event, you may want to go back to the donor and ask them if they'll extend that for another full year. And we're seeing those increase in value because of travel restrictions now. If you can push it out to 2022, we're seeing a lot more funds raised that way.
Yeah, and we actually just did a webinar. We can send it to anybody who's interested. We just did a webinar on data, and it was all about what's selling really well right now. Our team does such a good job of aggregating all the trends that we see nationwide and then kind of serving that stuff out so you can take advantage of it. And we found some really interesting studies in how that was set up, and that's right on line with what you're saying. Is travel selling, but you got to be a little different about how you talk about it. Okay, so I've got my item information. I then can link it to a donor, and I can create a new supporter, or I can search for somebody right in the software. So if I type the name in, I've got my donor selected. I can actually indicate a solicitor if I'd like, but I'm just going to go ahead and click save here. So I've got my item built. It's a single item. And then now I can progress into packages. And I am going to talk a little bit about the fund to need and sponsorship and admission and all that stuff. But for right now, I'm focused more on kind of traditional auction packages and how that's set up. So you would type in the name of your package and all the different details associated. And then from here, you actually can start to insert your items that you had procured. And a lot of nonprofits, the way they do this is they set it up almost like as stages, where they have like their procurement stage, which is happening out a little bit earlier. And then they have what they'd consider to be their packaging stage. And that's where they're starting to figure out how they're going to position things and talk about it. A really popular one we've been seeing is kind of like these quarantine at home, packages, and they're full of like, Papa Murphy's pizza and toilet paper and all that kind of stuff. What's nice about it is you can procure the stuff early, and then later on you can figure out how are we eloquently going to talk about this to make it positioned and marketed and done really, really well. So I can drag my images in, but what I choose to do when I'm setting these up is I just actually pull in my images here, and I can actually see how they populate. Let me bring in a couple more here. And what we start to notice, sorry, I'm doing this all on the fly. Whatever items you've put in at the restriction and description level, it pulls that content forward. And that's a really important factor, because if it's like Michelle mentioned, there's so much happening right now with like restaurants and flights and hotels. You want to make sure whatever detail you've been collecting, it pulls forward so you have it solid and ready to go. So again, this is the packages and then the descriptions, etc. Also, keep in mind you can include some private notes. This is great for committees because you might have something you don't want known to the public, like, hey, this package we think is going to get bid on by this person, and so that's why we're catering it this way. Okay, so that's the packages themselves. Let me go back to the home page.
John, can you go back there for just 2 seconds? I want to talk about guaranteed purchase. So guaranteed purchase, you have that option in Greater Giving. in your package format. And guaranteed purchase is usually 1.5 to 2 times the value. Guaranteed purchase is perfect for a paper bid sheet. I don't recommend it for online bidding. It's up to you. You can do this or choose not to. But we had, I do a webinar every Tuesday. We call it Tuesdays at 2, and we get so many great ideas. And one organization had a Keep Calm and Sip On package. And they had a, let's see, they had an iPad. It was actually donated by a sponsor. So the sponsor gained more recognition from this too. So they had an iPad, they had $300 gift certificate to Grubhub, a named bottle of wine, a named bottle of scotch, and a package of Costco toilet paper. It went for $3,000. So if you had had your guaranteed purchase in there, you would have lost money. So you never know what's going to be appealing to your donor and how far they will go. They can use their max bid on this and still increase your revenue. So sometimes with online bidding or a virtual event, you do want to leave the guaranteed purchase blank because the sky's the limit. Is that what you're seeing, John?
Yeah, we're seeing that. But like one thing that did, I agree with you, but then I saw something about 2 weeks ago that was pretty interesting. And this was, I think CASA did this, where they actually had a guaranteed purchase, which was, it's just insanely high. And it was a vacation home at the coast. And with that one, it was like, if you did the guaranteed purchase, which was super high, you got 3 bottles of wine in. And the wine were actually sponsors of the event. So I think it was kind of tricky because they were also, because that shows right in the phone when you're bidding, it's also another way to give your sponsors a shout out too. But for the most part, yeah, I agree. I think that's a factor. All right.
And John, there were 2 questions that came in. One I answered quickly. It's a little bit more about pricing and software, so I'll touch on that in a little bit. But one question just came in asking from Connie, asking if will you allow us to see ideas to put as auction items?
Sorry, do you say ideas?
Yeah, and so we probably have a ton. Connie, do you mind giving us a little bit more detail? Because John and Michelle will be incredible. And as soon as I see the word ideas, I'm like, you're definitely in the right place when John and Michelle are on the call. So if you can give us more thoughts on what you might want, I'm sure we can definitely fulfill that for you.
Do you want me to speak right now or unmute and talk?
That would be fantastic. Yeah.
Okay. So I believe I've worked with Greater Giving in the past. I was a principal for 7 years at St. Apollinaris in Napa. So I'm a little bit familiar. Yeah. But I also wanted to know, I'm seeing some of the ideas that you pop up, like 5-star Maui and just some of the great ideas that you've right backstage tour, those kinds of things. Do you have like a standard list that we can look through to get ideas to create? I think we're kind of stagnant in what we're doing, and it would be really fun to have Dad's hair braiding. I saw that one on there. So are we open to seeing those ideas?
Yeah. So let me speak to that a little bit. And again, warning, I can talk about this all day. Is we have one of the best in the industry's blogs. If you're not following it, I recommend everybody does. The Greater Giving blog has, I don't know, a gajillion followers. It's a lot. And it's not about Greater Giving. It's about ideas and creativity. And what we do is when we see a great idea, we then submit it as a blog post or a concept. So to answer your question, yes, we're absolutely open to talking to you about that. And that would be, I think, a part of how we would use the resources and our knowledge to help your team grow. Another one of them that's coming up that's really powerful, and I don't know, Michelle, how much you've talked about this already, is this summer we're having our first ever Thought Leadership Summit. We've had an in-person one for years. It's really kind of a who's who of the auction world. It happens in Portland, Oregon. People come up and physically do it in person. This year, for the first time, we're doing it in a virtual setting, and that's going to be just so many ideas and different things, and that's something we could talk more about. But we'd also love to encourage, and work with your group on sharing ideas and things in your community, because I don't know what the culture is like there, but I would imagine if you get a couple of great concepts and things, that stuff goes really, really well, just as you start to take an idea and then somebody else adds a little bit more to it and it builds and builds.
One area as well, John mentioned our blog. So on our website, we have a resource center, and it's the blog is part of the resource center. It has an incredible, has a great search bar, so you can search by topic. But one of the things that everyone is always asking for, and we love to work with, are best practices or new ideas. And so one of the great things about doing this for 20 years and having so many team members and so many departments that have been able to build relationships with what are now hundreds of auctioneer and event planning partners across the country is we have an incredible amount of resources to draw from internally and through our relationships and partnerships. So about 2 years ago, we launched a book that we actually published, but it's a free download on our website, and it's called Auction Games or 26 Revenue Enhancers. And so it's an actual book that you can download, and we have 26 partners. Each partner has described their favorite non-auction item. So it's not like what's a great silent auction item. It's each partner describes their favorite non-item game or add-on or multi-sale type of moment to have to generate revenue at an event. It's an incredible resource. I call it the $10,000 book because there's no way that you can download it and look at it. And if you implement any of the ideas, we usually say there's at least $10,000 for every organization there. So the 26 Revenue Enhancers book, it's been downloaded thousands of times. It's free. It's all driven by individual partners, and we're just launching the second volume as well. So you'll have 52 ideas that we can provide for you really quickly as well.
I have that link in the follow-up email, so they'll each be receiving that from Colleen.
Perfect.
All right. I've got a great story I'm not going to tell now, but remind me later. I have my it's a Catholic school story that I got from one of our coworkers, Brad. I'll tell that, one of my favorite auction packages. So I'm going to jump right into, I got to keep moving here on, this is Go Time. So of all the tools Greater Giving has, this is the part that our volunteers and our staff, team members, tell us they love the most. And this is what people really use on event night to make that experience really simple. Go Time is predicated on the idea that volunteers and staff members don't have a lot of time for training. They don't have a lot of time to learn really the platform. So the items and packages and supporters have all been entered ahead of time. Go Time for event night is how you're actually going to have somebody walk up to someone with a tablet, computer, whatever device you've chosen to use. It's in a browser, and they click check-in, and they actually just ask for the first 3 letters of their name, or really any part of their name. It would see any notes you had on file, like maybe they're a VIP or a sponsor, whatever you want to put in there. But then they'd have their phone number, mobile, email, whatever info you want to have in here. It's only 3 steps, but this is step 2. You would actually usually see an admission package here. I didn't set that up ahead of time, but let me just add one. This would be a complimentary ticket. But from here, you could see if they were, if they bought the early bird ticket or whatever price you'd want to select. You would check them in, and then you finally go to step 3, the final step. And that's where they're going to put their credit card on file. Now, here you got 2 options. One of them is you would collect the card from them and swipe it in the card reader. We actually ship you the card readers right before your event so you can use them. Everything's really easy. Or the alternative would be they can buy their ticket online, purchase their ticket, and the credit card stays on file. Both are PCI Level 1 compliant secure, but the key there is you want to decrease the friction to people spending money, and getting a card on file is one of the best ways to go about doing that. So the reason why Go Time is very savvy is because it's really easy to take a bunch of parents, a bunch of parishioners, a bunch of just people that are members of your community and teach them right before the live event how to use Go Time. And it's primarily used in the case of in-person events. All right, I'm going to progress and talk about a couple of more of these tiles that just might be used at your events, golf tournaments, jogathons, merchandise sales, whatever you're doing, but I'll go through this pretty quickly. You then have the option of also entering sales. So from here, this is where you're actually going to enter the sales of things sold in the live or things that are kind of coming in as one-offs. You would actually select the package that you're looking for, like let's say Coffee Lovers package, and then you'd indicate who actually purchased it. Now you can type the name in, or you actually can just select from somebody already on file. What I always recommend for folks is, again, in matters of data hygiene, is just type in the first 3 letters because it will give you anybody close. You would sell this for whatever you're going to sell it for, then it's automatically sold. This again is for the elements of like your live auction, fund a need, things like that. For merchandise sales, and I'm not sure if this is set up for this. I don't have it set up right now. I can show you here in a second. For merchandise sales, one of the things you can do is you can come to Storefront, and Storefront will actually have images of different objects that you can purchase. And I'll come back and show you this when we have our open Q&A because I don't have it set up right now. But you can have like t-shirts or raffle tickets or whatever it's set up, and you can actually sell these right in the moment, which is super powerful.
So this would be for Wall of Wine. This would be for raffle tickets. These would be for anything. If you were selling, even at your event, if you're selling t-shirts or hats, it's any point of sale item that they could just charge to their bid number. It goes directly into their receipt.
Exactly. And then when it comes to checkout, this again is so easy. We hope that all donors have a credit card on file ahead of time. So when it comes to checkout, it's not super complicated. Now, in my example here, I've got a whole bunch of donations, as you can see. If one of them was a mistake, because it's a fake database, I just click delete, and that one goes away. I can round up my donation, so I'm at $34,000, which is, hey, great for being a big supporter. But I can round that total up or increase a percentage, which is easy to do. But to send myself a copy of the receipt, well, first let's actually see what the receipt looks like. I can view it. Here's my receipt here. Again, a fake database, so I have a bunch of donations in here. But if I clicked email receipt, it just simply clicks you an email. And I'd say that's a huge trend a lot more people are doing is they're not having printers at your event. We always tell our clients, you want to have at least 1 or 2 printers just in case somebody wants one. But in general, most people are emailing their receipts. All right, so let's go back to the dashboard. There's a number of other elements in here where you can actually help a person bid right from here if you wanted to have a bid assistant or bid helper. But what I would say in general is that with Greater Giving, what we're trying to do, especially as a customer success and support team, is we want to educate your staff as much as possible on how to do this stuff so that you can do more of it on your own and you can do more events that happen throughout the year. All right. So we've looked at we've looked at the go time function, and what's happening is when you're selling things in the Greater Giving software, they're becoming sales, right? What would happen at a typical event would be you would collect these different objects, right? You would then sell them at your event or campaign, and then come, let's say Monday morning or so, you'd probably charge all the credit cards all at the same time. And this is very important about how Greater Giving is different from a lot of the other vendors out there. Greater Giving is both the software provider and the merchant. And here's why that's super important. It's incredibly frustrating when I have to call like Comcast or whatever company and you get the runaround of different things. In Greater Giving, you actually can process, you have the sales, right, in the software. You also have the payments, which are basically like the transactions or things that have covered those. But in addition to that, you can actually do refunds and changes right in the product. And so if you call our support team, you can call one number and get all the help you need just from one person that you're talking to. And that's a big deal, especially when you're talking about donor experience and making your donors very happy, especially if they spend a bunch of money. So you would see the sales and the payments. Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say there was one quick question came up. I answered it, but I'll say it out loud as well. There's a question on if we could do cash or check payments. The answer is yes, you can do cash, check. People can put down a credit card and later do a split charge, change credit cards, put down a credit card and end up using cash or check. And there are no service fees or other fees associated with cash or check, but you can track that and manage it in the system.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, cash or check, and then also you sometimes get other forms of payment that people have, like charitable trusts, different things. You can have all kinds of different creative options, and we teach the team how to do it when they sign up and become a customer. The next thing we're going to take a look at is going to be our one of our new features, our display boards that just came out. And for those of you who are brand new to, those of you who have been using Greater Giving might have not even used this yet. You can actually go into your product and use this today. It's included. There's no extra fees for it. But essentially, you come in and there's a screen right now that says display boards. And when you choose it, you have your display boards, and you can actually launch the display board right there in the screen. Takes a second. We'll talk about customization and different things, and really how these things can be set up. But right from within the software, you actually can come in and see real-time donations that are happening. And so there's a $500 donation. Thank you, sir, for your donation. We got the sponsorship showing at the bottom. The way a lot of people are using these in the live stream environment is they're having it like on a visual screen behind them, and they can actually call out the names as they're happening. Or if you're at a live event, or it's a great way to keep track of how are we doing on fundraising, what does it look like. There's a ton of customization you can do with this. You can come in and change the way the name shows up. On the bottom, you can have sponsor logos. You can have the name scrolling. You can use a thermometer, not use the thermometer. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. In addition to that, there is also a what's called a giving board, or sorry, an auction board. Give me a second here. There we go. What this is, it's a visualization. Again, it's about that data and making people's lives easier. What you can see here is the packages that are available for bidding. And when someone gets a bid on a package, it updates real time. What I think is really cool also about this, we've added a new feature, is called hot items. And so the packages, basically the 10 packages that are getting the most traffic automatically will glow with this element that says hot item, which is a really fun, way to go do it. We've got support the art program, teacher break room, whatever you want to have on here. You can come in and customize these. So in this case, what am I doing here? I got red set up. I can make them kind of more of a blue color if I'd like. You also can change the background images for how you want these set up. We also have a bunch of stock images, but if a Catholic school had a great shot of the new gymnasium, and that's what they're really raising money for, funding, you might want to make that your background image, change the fonts, all this kind of stuff. You click save. And then a key factor is it does not change until you refresh the screen. So if I hit refresh, you can see how that changes. Same with thermometer. If I hit refresh, and you can change, a lot of the coloring here. You can change a lot of the textures, how it's set up. I won't spend too much time. I'll just say that we did a full 1-hour webinar just on how you can customize these and new things that are in the release. So that's a really positive element of it. So that again is our display boards, and that's an element of online bidding. Another one is the option of Join Me, and I'll show you a couple of examples of what people have done here. Give me a second. So Join Me, and I don't know the background that the group has, but I think about this as the Jogathon tool, right? This is that peer-to-peer fundraising where you're asking people for donations. This is an example. It's kind of a paint-by-number tool. What it's designed to do is that somebody who is let's call them an administrator, goes in and pre-populates a bunch of text and images or messages. And then a fundraiser, a person who wants to raise money, then comes in and they put in their own image, their own resources, however they want to have those things set up. And this is an example of how they did it. They chose a background image that's a bike rider. And I don't know what this one was. This was a fundraiser of some sort, but they have their gauge on the left-hand side. And this correlates specifically to this person's donations. This is their individual donations that they've raised. Customization can be done like crazy. This is an orange one. That's a really, really bold color, but you can see how it's set up with how it was structured. They have their fundraising pages. There's a lot of people that are raising money here for this. The key factor I would say about it is that all of this data flows right into the hub of your Greater Giving database, and this would be its own project in itself. That's the Join Me tool. Let me look a little bit at online bidding just to show you kind of some of the behind the scenes stuff. So online bidding, Join Me, ticket sale pages, etc. They're all examples of essentially they're modules or add-ons that you would choose to use for a fundraiser or not choose to use. Right now, almost all the events that we're seeing are using online bidding, at least, just in the case of their events. We're starting to see more live events, but they're not planned really for like more August, September period. But when you're doing an online bidding event, again, this is a fake database, so I have a limited amount of records in here. But you can see all kinds of data here on the number of packages, what's happening, how have the package taken place. If I click on my mock record, I can see all the bids that I've placed. And if I wanted to remove some, which in this case I have, I would actually click on this X and click remove, and it would actually remove that bid, which is pretty easy to do. The main point here on how this is set up is it's got to be easy. It's got to be really simple for volunteers and staff because they don't have a lot of time to go in and learn it. We can look at the number of bids, the packages. I can come in and look at, let's say, Coffee Lovers package, and I can see a couple of bids that have happened. In this case, I outbid myself, but if you had a bidding war going on, you'd have a couple of different people happening in here. And then I think the last thing I'll open here before I hand it back to Michelle for questions and such is text messages. So if you want to like text and communicate with your audience, you can actually have your text pre-written, and then you just select those texts and you can send those outbound, which is great. Texting has become something, I think, with a lot of events, they're using it as a really creative method for engaging their audience, especially in the virtual sense where people are working from home or, they're just at home all the time.
So John, can you also explain how easy it is to go from Greater Giving, if you're a Greater Giving client, and all of a sudden, for instance, some like El Dorado Hills is open in their area, so they can perhaps have it in person, and I know they are having an in-person event, but let's say they got a call like some of our clients did, a week in advance. What are the steps they would take to move everything they have from Greater Giving as an in-person event to make it go virtual or online bidding?
Yeah, good question. Fundamentally, it's not that different. It's actually more about what I would call mechanics, which are like kind of the talking to the families and talking to the donor groups. Fundamentally, it's very similar because you still have packages, you still have descriptions. We always say that if you're going to go virtual, probably pay more attention to the pictures you use because they're really, really important. And also think about how you're going to engage sponsors because sponsors, they want to get their money's worth. So we recommend in online bidding with how that set up is there's a way you can have sponsor logos show right in the application. Let me show you what that looks like real quickly. So this is the online bidding interface. We choose Greater Giving as a strategy. It's not an app, it's a mobile browser. And so that means that whatever device you're on, it's completely usable. As the screen changes in size, it slightly modifies, but it's easy to adjust for an audience. But you can actually include logos and different things throughout the interface so that people can, participate and bid in whatever manner they want to, join. But that's I think, Michelle, a pretty big part of it is.
Well, yeah. What I'm seeing is
fundamentally
that,
the same.
Yeah. What I'm seeing is that sponsors have more exposure than they even have at a regular event, at an in-person event. So if you're looking at what John shows you, our sponsors, Gifts and Bloom, Powerhouse, they're scrolling across the bottom with online bidding. And then most of the clients I work with, I would say every 5 silent auction lots, they'll place a sponsor's logo.
Oh,
and
right.
So we're seeing more than ever sponsors. They have most often, I shouldn't say, restaurants, hotels, you want to be very careful with those, but some businesses are doing very well and they're happy to sponsor you again, but showing them where their logo will be placed and the exposure they'll receive. And then when you're doing an online bidding or virtual event, typically the best practice is to leave it open for 5 to 7 business days. So now they have 5 to 7 business days with their promotion, but also it's reaching a wider audience. So John, can you give as far as Dove Lewis, can you let us know what they said as far as new donors? What were they at, 36% of new donors because of their broadening their audience?
Yeah, so this was kind of an example of how the customer success team engages. So Dove Lewis it's an animal hospital in Portland, and they've been using us for years. This is an interesting strategy for the whole group to talk about is at a later date is they went virtual for the first time ever, and they're doing some really smart stuff with the way their social media is set up around like live streaming puppies and engaging an audience and all kinds of stuff. So they went just normally as an animal hospital. So they went virtual, and they had never done it before. And what they had a big year in dollars, but the big thing was they said 36% of the contacts they had involved were net new to the organization. People that they had never had attend an event, they'd never come to a fundraiser, they've never donated to the cause. And I think that's a big factor as we start to look at the virtual context of how this is set up. Is it's also about supporter acquisition, right? Is how do we impact our reach and get more people involved? So a person can come, they can register for the event. I was just going to show you the sponsor logo stuff. And if they wanted to come in and make a donation, they can click bid. They can simply place their bid, which is easy. Or through Greater Giving, there's the option to bid more, where they can actually do a higher bid amount or set a max bid. It's pretty easy to walk through and set up. And it really has to be, because this is the element of how your donors are going to engage.
Then also asking for donations. So you're funding. There you are.
Right.
We had that planned.
Yeah. So you can come in and actually do a donation. Let's make this huge. What the gauge does is it responds to the donations that come in. Oops, I clicked delete. Oops, logged out.
But you do have the option to have that thermometer, and then you do also have the option to have the amount with the donor. And so we've done a little bit of research on this as well. And so we think that we're pretty positive that by having the name and the amount on the screen, you'll see an increase in donations. Also, if you're deciding to do a virtual event, having the chat bar, the live chat bar with the chat cheerleader increases your revenue tremendously as well.
Right. People love seeing their name. I mean, you could say it's,
yeah, but you know what's so important is that cheerleader, the one that's saying, thank you so much, Connie, and then Colleen, you've got to bid a little higher on the Tahoe package. I've been to that cabin and it's beautiful. So that really promotes bidding and also community in a virtual sense.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more I was going to show you. This is a fun school when I saw somebody do. Okay. Sorry,
Okay,
I'm ranting.
This is my favorite.
You're gonna have to cut me off.
I've seen ideas.
Talking. Okay.
Ideas for 18 years, and this is one of my very, very favorites.
Okay. This is so good for teachers. This is a teacher deal. Okay, so here's how it works. This is Denver Academy. I think they're a private. Yeah, they're a private school. So what they did is they did this thing called Send Your Teacher Packing. And so how this is set up is marketed at the end of the year that one or two teachers are going to get to go on a trip that's funded by the PTO PSA group. So you can come in here and you can make a nomination. And this is actually what's called their project website. And I didn't get too much into this, but when you're building a campaign or a fundraiser, you get to build a website right out of Greater Giving that has all your ticket prices and all your donations and everything all in it. They did an extra thing, which is called Send Your Teacher Packing. And the way it works, a little bit American Idol style here, but basically these are all the teachers' names and they're all packages. A vote is $5. And so you can come in and you can say, I want 6, which is $30 calculated. And then you would come in and do, it's a way long scroll because they have a lot of teachers. You do next, and it casts those votes. And whatever teacher wins, the school sends them on a trip or a vacation, whatever they have selected. But I think what's really smart about it is if you got we're in Oregon, so I'm just going to use Oregon examples. But if you got a vacation home donated in Lincoln City or at the Oregon coast, and you thought, hey, that's going to have a max value of maybe $800 or something in our auction, maybe $2,000, you might be able to generate more revenue by doing this, and you're engaging in the way of thanking teachers, which everybody loves doing because they're heroes. What's brilliant about this design is on the back end in Greater Giving, what's happening is each of these are coming in as sales in the database. And at the same time, you're getting all the contact info of who bought it as a supporter. I'll just show you real quick what that looks like. Okay, so I can come in here and I can actually see like what a donation looks like. Let me just add a page here, item donation. I can actually build my page right here within the site, and then I can launch it, and it's all integrated into the database where all the items and the data flows right in. And let me give you an example. Here's an example of one. This is a fake mock-up one that we built, but you can come in and submit like a whatever you want.
Well, this comes in handy now because you can't go and personally procure. So you can send this link to anyone that's donated in the past. They can enter in their item donation, their contact information, they submit, and they instantly receive a thank you that you can customize, and then it integrates back to the software. So this is one of my favorite features. I've been auction chair probably 7 or 8 times. And this and this is probably the area that saved me the most amount of time, was this online item donation form. So while it's just one little aspect of our software, it's something that you definitely would like to use.
Yeah. Same thing with ticket sales. If you were to indicate that you wanted 2 tickets and this is the package type you have set up, and then let's say you maybe wanted to do a $500 donation, you click next. And it's going to ask you for, if you have a group name already, you can use that. That's really great for our seating assignment tools. But then you can indicate who the people are that are going to be joining, and you can customize what shows here. You can't add new fields, but you can limit or take away some of this if you'd like.
One thing that I did too was I also gave the parents an option. This is for in-person, but gave the parents an option to purchase a ticket for a teacher. Since the teachers were coming anyway, the parent can underwrite the teacher for the night of the event.
You know what? Another one I've seen Catholic groups do is they have like a way, I'd have to find the examples, but I've seen it where they have a way where they buy tickets for members, like the sisters and the priests and various different things, even though they don't need them. So like they let like the sisters in for free anyway, but then they have an option in their ticket page where they can buy one for the sister, like in honor of them, kind of a thing. And it's basically a virtual donation. Everybody loves it.
Right.
Yeah.
John, I think we're at 10:35 right now. So do you mind if we get into, bring Matt back in? I want you to be able to explain the strategy that we've created for the diocese for training and tech support and continued support.
Sure. Do you want me to talk to it or Matt?
Actually,
why
I'd
don't
like you to. So
I,
Matt could bring up the presentation, then if you could speak to it, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't I walk through the slides and the two of you can kind of add to it a little bit. Can you, Michelle, can you see my slide again?
Yep.
Great. So everyone, Greater Giving Training Support, I'll walk through. John, being the Customer Success Manager, is going to be an essential part of this. And let me set so that I can move my slide. So Greater Giving set up so that we have an incredible training and support team. And this is a service that we offer to every single one of our clients, Monday to Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard. We have a team in our Portland headquarters now they're working remotely. They'll in the not too distant future be back in our Portland office. Support via phone, email, and online chat, 6:30 to 6 p.m. every day. We have great web-based product trainings and resources available 24/7 on our incredible Help Center site off our website. We have live training weeklies. We have 24-hour day of event support. And like we were saying with our resource for the blog, the Help Center is an incredible resource for clients on how to utilize our products with great videos, guides, and things like that. So every single client has this service. What we like to do, because this is incredibly fun for us really, is to then take the structure that we have and customize training for groups like yours where we know there's going to be a lot of connectivity. So what we'd like to do for the Diocese of Sacramento, and John can speak to this a little bit more, we want to do an assigned account manager. Every single user that you have will have all of the support day to day that I just spoke about, but we're going to have an assigned account manager for your team. We can do leadership team meetings where our point person for your group, your leaders, our leaders can have regular touch point meetings. We do a team checkpoint, John and I, the teams, all of the point people for our ALS, American Cancer, Boys and Girls Club, all of those slides I showed where we have national partners, regional partners, all of the leads, we have a once a week meeting. It's an incredible collaboration. It's one of my favorite meetings. I think probably it's for John too to go to because all of our lead people talk about what are the best practices they're doing with the brand or the group that they're the point person on. So we do a team checkpoint every week where we'll talk about how we can better serve you, some of the trends we're seeing from our other groups so we can incorporate those into the service that we provide you. We'll be doing pre-event consultations, post-event meetings. We'll have specific webinars and trainings for your group where we can do them on a Zoom call like this and talk about best practices and training. John will talk about a back-to-school kickoff webinar that he'll be able to do. And then Michelle is going to put together each year. Michelle does incredible seminars, and so she'll come down as soon as we get the go-ahead to be on site. She'll be doing seminars with two of her partners, KLM Auctions and Best Santa for events for your group as well. So one of the unique things about Greater Giving is we have such a great infrastructure that it allows us to very quickly be able to create customized trainings and touches that go on top of that for groups like yours. So you get everything that's great about our base service, and then we really enjoy being able to customize the service. And it's a way for us to grow our team members as well. So John and Michelle, I'll let you speak to a little bit more of some of the things you all are going to be engaging on from the webinar, the back to school, and the seminar standpoint.
John, you want to go ahead first, and I'll talk about the seminar last.
Yeah. I mean, as keeping with the trend, I can talk all day about this. I think our best ideas come from other clients we work with. The value that I think with Greater Giving, our people are one of our best resources. And in the case of, hey, we're looking for fresh ideas. We got this funny fundraiser we're doing, kind of creative concept. We share these kind of ideas, and we'd love to share them with you in the format of like team meetings. So for a normal Greater Giving customer, we have an awesome support team who can call in and get event night help. All that's built in, all of it's toll free, etc. Where we're looking to go above and beyond with your team is to actually set up a specified group, and then also work with you strategically on trends, kind of things you want to focus on. If you said 2020, we want to be the year of contact acquisition. We want to try to get more people than we've ever had in our email list so that in future events, we have that info. You know, we can absolutely line that stuff up. We can talk about ideas until we're red in the face. I'm working on my first fundraiser that's going to be at a drive-in movie theater coming up soon. That's a funny whole thing we can talk about. But our training and the concept of doing like a fall kickoff, we would love to do that with you. Get the PTA people, the volunteers, the staff. We'll do a Zoom call. We'll go through the training, and then we'll talk about ideas. We'd love to do that with you.
Thanks, John. And I'm ready to come down in person. So I'm tired of sitting in Oregon. So we typically do seminars, yearly seminars in the fall and in the spring. So what I would like to do is bring in two of my best partners. One is Keith McLean from KLM Auctions, who's actually in Sacramento, and then Beth Sandifer with Beth Sandifer Events. And she is probably, I would say, John, do you think she's one of our best partners across the country? She's an expert in in-person events, virtual events, but between the three of us, you'll have more ideas than you'll ever need. And these are ideas that we're not making up. Maybe Keith is making up some, but Beth and I are not making them up. They're tried and true ideas on how to increase your revenue. So it's not, it would be somewhat of a training aspect because we're going to bring somebody from Greater Giving as well. So if anybody had any questions, but the main focus is going to be how to get creative, how to increase your revenue. What are the best practices? What are the live and learns that we have experienced? And it's been well received for the last, I would say, 10 years that we've been doing this. But these two are experts in the industry, and they're also experts in your area. They're from Sacramento area. So while Sacramento is close to San Francisco, there are different ways of fundraising in San Francisco than there are in Sacramento, than there are in San Jose. So we're excited to be able to do that as well.
I think this is a great example. I think so much comes from collaborating, both our internal collaboration, our ability to collaborate with other organizations and share our learnings there. But really, at the end of the day, engagement is the most important part of that, to make sure engagement and access is there. And so that's where we'll work with you on a schedule that's going to be engaging for you, so that we don't have too many webinars and meetings and have engagement be too low. We have just the right amount. And so I think that's something we do really, really well is we have such a great infrastructure that it will allow us to sit down and meet with you and say, these are the things that we'd like to provide. What is the manner in which they're best for all of you to engage with us on, so that we can make sure to get this information, kind of add-on training and best practices shared across all of the schools. So we'd really look forward to working with you on that aspect of things. We have some great ideas, but we'd like to customize it for you as far as the scheduling and some of the content. So that's usually our favorite part of working with organizations, is being able to do this aspect of it. There aren't any questions there. I can talk to the partnership and pricing that we've put together. And Michelle, you can supplement, obviously, anything I'm speaking to here. But what we'd like to do is, with 2 packages that will be available for the school. One is event and online bidding, which is essentially everything that John showed you today. It's the auction software with the express payments, the mini sites, and the online and mobile bidding. That would be $800 annually. And for those of you who mobile and online bidding is something maybe you're looking to in the future, or something you know that for the time being is in a direction you want to go, in our event package, which is the software, the express payments, and the mini sites, that would be $400 annually if you just want that component. And then the Join Me feature is part of that peer-to-peer for Asans, table captains, things like that. That's built into our web builder. And so that will add for all of you as a complimentary access to our Join Me, so that you can all start using it creatively in any way, or for any campaign you have existing where it would be a good fit. For the portions of the fundraising that go through our event systems. So this isn't for Join Me or ticket sales, but for the night of events, the mobile bidding, on-site events, or virtual event, the Visa MasterCard are 1.99 and American Express are 2.59. Those are what we call the pass-through fees. That covers every type of Visa, MasterCard, Discover, or Amex. So in other words, if you have a Visa and it's a signature card, there's no extra charges for a signature card. Everything that's a Visa is going to be 1.99. Everything, including signature, whether that's platinum, gold, silver, Amex, is going to be 2.59. And then service fees for events are dependent on volume. They range from 0.9 to 1.6. Michelle can share that information with you in her follow-up email. And really, we look at all of our pricing as part of a partnership. What we try and do is eliminate as much friction as we can to allow all of you to make a decision to be able to work with our product, because we know that once you do, we're going to be able to partner with you to help create a win for everyone. So this is the pricing that Michelle lobbied for everyone, and I thought our company did a great job of understanding what type of client you can be for us. And so I think we were thrilled to be able to get these price points to be able to offer to all of you. There might be some more questions, I think, on the credit card area. That's sometimes where there are a couple more questions, but we'd be happy to take any questions. Or Michelle, if there's anything that you think you could describe in a way that might clarify it a little bit more before we send the email out that has it a little bit more specifically, I'd welcome you to, obviously.
Sure. Well, I think what we're trying to do is make sure that everyone can afford Greater Giving, whether you're a very small event or a large event. And then even if you want to have multiple events. So we're seeing a lot of organizations that are having their, let's say they're doing their virtual event because they have to this fall, but then in the spring, they're able to have an in-person smaller event. So we want to make sure that you can use this as many times as you have the energy to run an event per year. So it's also multi-user and then multi-event. And I think one thing, John, I don't know if you mentioned this, but because it's multi-user, you can have permission levels or admin rights, and you definitely want to be able to set those up, and that's part of your training. Because if you do have multiple events running simultaneously, you want to make sure that each individual is in the correct project. But that's what John's team assures.
Yeah, and I would say another really important factor of this that Matt didn't and Michelle didn't have on this part is that in all of this, the support's included. Like, so we don't have a separate line of support. It's not like this fundraiser used up all the support tickets and this group only gets to use phone or email or whatever the case. If the Jogathon team has questions, give us a call. The photo Matt showed before, go back, Matt. Go back a couple slides to the one of the customer support team. This photo of everybody cheersing with their drinks. Wait, go down one more.
Yep. There we go.
That's our support team. That's the crew. I'm in there somewhere. We got an event night support team. If you want to call somebody and talk to a real person on event night, that's all included in it.
And John, most of these, I would say, I'm looking at our support team, they've been clients, they've been users, they've run events, attended events. So, and what would you say our average client service team member has been with us? I mean, there's
a couple of us like myself of 15 years that really throw off that average, but
yeah.
It's probably 5 to 6 years. What's great about it is we have a really great culture, and it is fun to talk to charities about their ideas and things. And a lot of these folks aren't, brand new to the game doing this. They run we have a cool program where you get encouraged to have like your kid's school use the fundraiser. So most of the people in this photo, their personal charity that they volunteer with and they get time off to go volunteer with, they use Greater Giving, so they're proficient at it.
And then Matt, I think there was a chat that asked, hold on, let me get in here. From Connie, is this annual fee school year? So yes, so it's annual. So the $800 or the $400, whatever you select, that is for your first entire year. And then each year after the first year, you have an annual fee of either $800 or $400, but you're locked into that rate. We have 2 terms. We have a 5-year term and a 1-year term. You would be in the 5-year term pricing, but you would be on a year-to-year agreement with Greater Giving because each one of you would have your own license with a cancellation clause as well. So again, it's $800 initially, and then each year after the first year, it would be $800 if you continue to use the event with online bidding. And if you want just the event package, it's $400 and then $400 each year after the first year.
And then the one other thing I think that would be worth mentioning is the processing and security. So since Greater Giving was founded, we've always been our own credit card processor. We were founded as a credit card processing company specifically for auction fundraisers. And obviously being acquired by Global Payments and having that be our parent company, we do our processing through Global Payments. Now, what's I think really great about this is that everything is done through one vendor and the compliance and security levels are at the highest level. So you're not buying a software that then is plugging into another company to do the credit card processing. Everything is done in one system. And because of the volume in which Greater Giving processes credit cards, we have to have the highest levels of compliancy. So we're PCI level 1 compliant as a company, our software and payment services. And so you have one vendor, the security is the highest level, the compliancy that we have to adhere to based on our volume is at the highest level, and the compliancies that our parent company has to adhere to because they're a publicly traded company that provides credit card processing are at the very highest level they can be. So there's no other company you're working with. There's no aspect of here's what the software security is like, and then there's another company that handles the security that has to do with the credit card processing. There's no handoff between 2 companies within the technology. It's all one company under one umbrella with the highest levels of compliancy that we have to meet. And I think that's convenient because you're always only calling one person. All of your statements are going to come from us, but from a security standpoint, that's priceless. And so I added that as well. And I think that's kind of our slides, but we would love to have any questions. We try and set up a meeting that will cover as many things as possible. I'm sure there are some areas that some of you would like to see more or have questions on. So obviously we'd be happy to kind of expand on anything or speak to anything that we haven't touched on.
John, there's one thing I wanted you to be able to show them was the, I'm talking with Tom right now, the Notre Dame banner with the back to school package. Do you have that so you can show that, Johnny? There you go. John, you're muted. Okay, so this is, I'll speak to this. So, so
This keeps
this
happening.
is,
Keep
so
getting
one of
muted.
the, yeah, so one of the auction chairs had called and asked if we could do something called the back to school packet. And so she wanted to be able to sell spirit wear, but in turn, she also wanted to, instead of back to school night where you know, in the past, we've all, you know, brought our full checkbooks and kept writing checks for everything. But you can sell, if you scroll up just a tad, John, that you can sell your auction tickets, back to school barbecue. They had something called the Harvest Festival, the Heart Dance, and then selling their spirit wear. So it's like a shopping cart. So this is helpful because, first of all, it's nice to be able to just sell this easily and online. And then another thing that we didn't mention is with the online convenience fee, with any ticket sales or something like this, you are able to pass that on to the purchaser or the guest. And that's becoming more and more, I would say more and more common these days. I would say 5 years ago, no one did it. Everyone is doing it now. They're giving it as an option to the guest to pick up that 3.95% for the ticket sale. It is, again, an option for the donor. They don't have to, but most are. So it's something similar to Eventbrite. When Eventbrite would offer that, I think that's how it became more popular.
And Michelle, there was a question about the hardware for the payments, whether or not that's included in the pricing.
The credit card process, the card readers. So that's,
yeah. So you can maybe speak
so
to the difference in card readers and terminals.
Yeah, so the card readers and mobile card readers are included as part of your service fee. We recommend that you have one per 100 guests. So that is included in your service fee. You'll have your card readers, you'll have your shipping through UPS to and from your event, and then again, 24/7 event day phone support. The only thing we don't provide is your laptops or your iPads or tablets. So I would say most schools just bring their own because you're only using them for one night, or you'll have a volunteer that, let's say somebody's doing storefront, they're walking around, they'll bring their own iPad or tablet. Another thing I wanted to mention too, that some of the larger schools will like to have someone on site. If that interests you, let us know. We do have on-site support that is local in your area. So you would just be paying for the support, no travel or expenses whatsoever. And actually one of them is Beth Sandifer. So you can, you know, take the night off and let her run the show if you wanted to. She's so good at it. So any other questions? I also wanted to mention, what time is it? I'm going to make sure I'm not going over. So real quickly.
It's about 11 o'clock, yeah.
Okay, thanks. I do something called, it's a silly name, it's called Tuesdays at 2. We just wanted to make it catchy. You're all invited. I'll send the email to Colleen and she can forward it on to you, but it is with Beth Sandifer. And that's where we get most of our great ideas because everyone has been so creative lately with having to pivot is what they call it. So a lot of the, like the, keep calm and sip on, the you know, there's something called a trio of happiness where it's a pay it forward. You don't have to go procure and go out to merchants, vendors, people that perhaps just are trying to get back on their feet now. So we have ideas like a virtual swag bag, a virtual photo booth, but all of this is on Tuesday at 2. It's very informal, but a half hour of slides, but then a lot of questions and answers and just sharing of ideas. So we are not having it this Tuesday because it's Beth's birthday, but the following Tuesday and then on, until we all get through this stage, we're going to continue doing the Tuesdays at 2. So if we don't have any other questions, I want to thank you so much for your time. I know you're all so busy and we appreciate the full hour and a half that you've given us.
Well, thank you, Matt.
And Michelle, is your next?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Michelle, is your next step? Will you be sending an email to the group
Yeah.
to everyone on this call, or do we send it just to the diocese? What are the next steps that everyone might be expecting from us?
I'm sending it to Colleen.
Right.
So,
And
yes.
I'll be sending out an email when we have both of the links for the video so that can be shared with others if you want to review it again and compare. And then I will also share your email in that. So it'll be one document, one email with all the information sent to the principals.
And then we had one more question. Are the service fees based on the volume per event? And yes, it's per event, but that's why we negotiated a rate where it would make sense for you to have multiple events.
I'd point out they're based on the service fees of the credit card volume per event. So
Thank
Greater
you,
Giving,
Jane.
Greater Giving doesn't have any charges or fees associated to what you intake in cash or check. And that's a really important, especially for schools.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and for our Greater Giving friends. Thank you for presenting to us today.
Well, thank you for having us. We
Hey,
appreciate
thanks for the
it.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you
Yeah,
do.
we truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'll be reaching out to everyone.